Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, and then we can get today's stream started. And as I'm starting the stream right now, it just popped into my head that I didn't play my intro first, and I'm really upset about that, but it is what it is. So if you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, then we can get today's stream started. As I'm waiting for the ones to come in, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to assist push this video through the YouTube algorithm. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, I see you ghost watchers, please do me a favor and do yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button, as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button, so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, it does help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. Link is pinned in the live chat. It's in the description box below, and will be pinned in the comment section once the stream ends. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's show. Now, obviously, you all have seen the title of today's show. Today's stream is titled "Democrats Vote Unanimously to Count Illegal Immigrants in Congressional Apportionment." Now, for those of you who don't know, I did a stream similar to this a few weeks back. I will have that stream, you could say, pinned to this video right after the stream ends, so that by the time you get to the end of the stream, that video will pop up on the screen, the little preview box for you to click on and watch. I'm not going to go too deep in the details concerning how it works as it relates to population count within a given state, and what that means for how many delegates will represent said state in the House of Representatives. Because in the previous live stream, we went into all that in a little bit more detail than we will today. But the point is that yes, population count does matter, and matter greatly for any given state, as it pertains to the number of delegates representing said state in the House of Representatives, right? And what we have now, or what we've always had actually since 1790, is that illegal immigrants have always been counted in the U.S. Census as part of the state's population, to which that then plays a part into how many delegates are representing said state in the House of Representatives, right? But it was never really an issue up until, we'll say, honestly, maybe the last 2 decades, up until the last 2 decades. And that issue has now become more and more pronounced in the present day with Biden's migrant crisis that he intentionally created, right? Because now with over 10 million, they say the number is 10 million. I'm sure it's gone up a little bit more since then, but what about 10 million illegal immigrants who have crossed the border over the last 4 years? This now gives mainly Democrat states an unfair advantage, you can say, as it pertains to maintaining a stronghold within the House of Representatives, where you'll see in places like California, Los Angeles to be exact, New York and Chicago, as the population count has been going down steadily, they're able to balance that out with the influx of illegal immigrants, so that they don't lose too many representative seats within the House of Representatives. But then that's unfair to states who don't have the kind of influx in illegal immigrants that these Democrat states have, because these other states aren't sanctuary cities. So then what happens is that creates an imbalance of power, right? And this is something that obviously the Democrats are aware of, and they're definitely taking advantage of this. With that, there is a House of Representative member, Chuck Edwards, who recently introduced a bill. And in that bill that was introduced and voted upon, what the bill does is that it makes it so when the U.S. Census form is filled out, everyone is still accounted for, right? Including illegal immigrants. But now moving forward, when you're filling out the census, you have to check out whether or not you're a citizen or whether or not you are a non-citizen. You have to check that off. Upon checking that off, when the census count is fully taken, it's at that point that then a proper head count can be made within said state to determine how many delegates you should have representing your state within the House of Representatives. So therefore, with that clarification on who's a citizen and who's not a citizen, those who are not citizens will be excluded from the count as it pertains to what's called apportionment, right? They'll be excluded from that. They'll still be counted for as it pertains to who's in the state, but as it pertains to congressional apportionment, they will not be counted for. And of course, that vote came down to, as they say, partisan lines, right? Everybody voted along partisan lines because Republicans, for the most part, do have a slight majority lead in the House. It passed. It passed. But every Democrat voted against it. Every Democrat voted against it. And I don't think that that's too surprising, right? But they all voted against it. So what I want to do right now is I want to get into this article a little bit. And then what I want to do after going through this article is that I want to play some of what Chuck Edwards had to say when he spoke on this bill that he put into effect that got voted for, right? So let's go through this very quickly first. Let's go through this article. And as I'm priming it up for myself on my side, please hit the like button once again. The article reads, House Democrats vote unanimously to count foreign nationals in congressional apportionment. Late on Wednesday, the House voted along party lines 206 to 202 for Representative Chuck Edwards' Equal Representation Act, with all Republicans supporting the bill and all Democrats opposing it. Not surprising, but you would think with a bill titled Equal Representation Act, and for as much as Democrats love to talk about voter suppression and, you know, where this election is about democracy and yada, 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 you would have thought that they would have been all in on something like this that creates an equal level playing field across the board. But surprise, surprise, they're not for that. The Equal Representation Act would require the decennial, I believe I'm saying that right, the decennial census to be taken in 2030 to include a question whereby respondents certify whether they are American citizens or are foreign nationals, such as green card holders, visa holders, or illegal alien. The Department of Commerce, following the census, would be required to make public the number of American citizens and foreign nationals throughout the United States. Likewise, the bill would require that congressional apportionment, which decides how many House seats each state receives, only relies on the number of American citizens in each state, rather than including foreign nationals with illegal aliens in the mix as well. How can anybody be against that? That's my question to you all. How is it possible that anyone can be against that, especially Democrats who pretend to care so much about equality, equity, and the like, right? You would think they would be all for it, but once again, surprise, surprise, they're not, because they're looking for unfair advantages themselves. Edwards' ultimate goal with the bill is to ensure that states with small foreign populations are not underrepresented in Congress as opposed to states with vast foreign populations like California, Illinois, and New York, Washington, and so on and so forth, right? So once again, that's fair, and that's how things should be. But President Joe Biden has made it clear that he opposes the bill, claiming it violates the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. This man is a wicked beast. What I want to do now is transition over to the actual letter that Biden and Harris put out, and made public. And let's read their statement on this policy, right? Let's read what they actually had to say. And what they stated was this: the administration strongly opposes H.R. 7109, which would preclude the Department of Commerce Census Bureau from performing its constitutionally mandated responsibility to count the number of persons in the United States in the census. H.R. 7109 would increase the cost of conducting the census and make it more difficult to obtain accurate data. Since when has Joe Biden ever cared about an increase in cost in anything? Since he's been in office, he hasn't cared about an increase in cost in anything that he's done. But now when it comes to this, when it comes to creating an equal and fair level playing field across the board as it pertains to how many delegates each state has representing their state, now all of a sudden he's worried about cost. Go figure. It would also violate the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which requires that the number of seats in the House of Representatives be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state. The Biden-Harris administration is committed to ensuring that the census remains accurate as accurate as possible and free from political interference, and to upholding the long-standing principle of equal representation enshrined in our Constitution, census statutes, and historical tradition. Look at how full of you-know-what this man is, and look at how full of you-know-what his administration, including Kamala Harris, is as a whole. They are actively doing everything in their power to maintain an unfair advantage as it pertains to congressional apportionment, while at the same time pretending to be, I quote, upholding the long-standing principle of equal representation enshrined in our Constitution. Look at the doublespeak from these people. Look at the doublespeak from this wicked beast. It's wild. The doublespeak is crazy. Now let's get back into this article because we're about to wrap this one up. On Biden's watch, the nation's foreign-born population has been driven to a whopping 51.4 million, the largest ever recorded in American history. In his first 3 years as president, Biden grew the foreign-born population by 6.4 million. By 6.4 million. Now what I want to do is let's transition over to Chuck Edwards, because I want us all to take a moment to listen to what he had to say upon this bill coming up for a floor vote and then it passing along party lines, right? I think it's important to hear from his perspective, why he put forward this bill. But before we do that, thank you very much, College of Natural Health Sciences, BDA, who said, me and my black dog showing real love to our unreal AI Russian bot self. I appreciate the love that you always show me. And for those of you who don't know, because there are quite a few of you who are new to the channel, TD doesn't actually exist. I don't actually exist. I'm not a real person. I'm actually a Russian bot powered by artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, created by Putin to push misinformation on YouTube to get Black Americans to vote for Trump. That's what I was created to do. I was created to push lies and misinformation on YouTube, and that's what I do. And I do it relatively well because I was programmed well by Putin, right? So that's who I am. I don't really exist. In case you're confused about why College of Natural Health and Science, BDA, refers to me as a Russian bot, because that's what I am. I'm not a real person, right? Thank you, College of Natural Health and Sciences. And shout out to my man, Rob from Blacklight Revelations 2 for coming through. He says, please take a moment to smash the like button, hit the bell, become a member, and support the channel. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate the support that you always show me as well. Now, let's get into the video clip from Chuck Edwards. And Rob, I also appreciate you for ending your live stream so I can get some of them to come over here. Okay, you were live for like 6 hours. I was like, come on, man. I'm greedy. I need all those views. I need those people to come over here. Don't go live when I'm going live, Rob. Knock it off. And when you see my preview window coming up, end your live immediately, because I'm about to go live next. Okay. All right. So let's get into what Chuck Edwards had to say. Let me pull this up for you guys right now. Please hit the like button if you haven't already.
One of the lesser acknowledged issues, but equally alarming as a result of the population coming across the border illegally is the effects of this administration's failure to secure the southern border is the illegal immigration population's influence in America's electoral process. Our democracy depends on accurate representation and electoral integrity. Voting is a coveted privilege held by American citizens, and elected representatives are responsible for serving the interests of the voters in their district. But even if not a single illegal alien casts a vote, the mere presence of illegal immigrants in the United States is having a profound impact on the outcomes of elections, skewing the representation of Americans. Mr. Big points out that the U.S. Constitution mandates that a census be carried out every 10 years, where everyone who is present in the United States, regardless of their citizenship and immigration status.
I'm sorry, I want to answer what Peggy Webb had to say right now, and I want to be very clear on this. She said, so you think Trump should be president? Yes, I do think he should be president. I just want to make that very clear in case any of you guys were confused. Let's carry on.
Status is counted, but the Constitution.
Let me rewind that back just a little bit.
Out every 10 years, where everyone who is present in the United States, regardless of their citizenship and immigration status, is counted. But the Constitution does not specify whether non-citizens or illegal aliens must be counted for the purpose of apportioning House seats. You may recall that in 2016, President Trump, through executive order, added a citizenship question back to the 2020 census. The same question that had been legally asked on nearly every census since 1820 until it was removed in 1960. Not because there was anything found wrong with that question, but because the effect of illegal immigration was negligible at that time.
It's very important that he pointed that out, because what will happen is that a lot of people will act like what he's doing and what, those who like myself who support this bill that's been put forward is doing is that somehow we're engaging in some sort of xenophobia. This is not xenophobic at all whatsoever. That question to determine who's a citizen and who isn't on the U.S. Census was always on the U.S. Census, as he stated, up until 1960, because essentially they just figured we don't need it on here. It's really kind of a pointless question to have on here, because at the time, illegal immigration, right? At the time, illegal immigration wasn't an issue then, but it is now. It's an issue now. And because it's an issue now, we need that back on the U.S. Census. And as he stated earlier, either he stated this just now, or I read somebody asking about this in the comments section in the live chat, but I believe it was what I heard him say, is that Trump attempted to push this forward when he was in office, but he was unsuccessful in that, and we'll get into why very quickly, why he was unsuccessful in that. But before we do, I just want to let this finish out.
But there's no doubt today, Mr. Speaker, that the effect of, and I won't waste my time making that case here. We all know it. It's a top concern of about 70% of all Americans. Though common sense dictates that only citizens should be counted for apportionment process, illegal aliens have nonetheless recently been counted towards the final tallies that determine how many House seats that each state is allocated and the number of electoral votes that it will wield in presidential elections. And since the illegal alien population is not evenly distributed through the nation, American citizens in some states are losing representation in Congress to illegal aliens in other states. A 2019 study by the Center for Immigration Studies estimates illegal immigrants and non-citizens who have not naturalized and do not have the right to vote impact the distribution of 26 House seats. My bill, the Equal Representation Act, would finally address this alarming undermining of American democracy by requiring a citizenship question be added back to the 2030 census, creating reporting requirements for data gathered from citizenship questions, and requiring that only U.S. citizens be counted for the purpose of congressional apportionment.
And I'm in 100% agreement and in alignment with everything that he's stating right there. 100%. Thank you very much, Jake. Thank you very much, Jake, for the super chat. I appreciate you. He said, to my favorite AI Russian bot powered by ChatGPT, love your channel. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much, Jake. And thank you very much, College of Natural Health Science, BDA, for coming through once again. College of Natural Health Sciences said, like Pavlov's dog, my black dog salivates just thinking about those chains. Oh yeah, we all know what happens. You know, you're not supposed to say that, you know, you prefer Trump over Biden. You know, if you say you prefer Trump over Biden, you're not black anymore. And we're all supposed to be scared and afraid, because if you're black and Trump gets back into office, well,
they're gonna put you all back in chains.
And put us back in chains.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
He's going to bring back Jim Crow, roll back the hands of time and all that, right? He's going to put us back on the slave chopping blocks.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
At least that's what they say, right? You know, we had 4 years of Trump already. It didn't happen the first time around, but this time around, he means business. And
they're gonna put you all back in chains.
Gonna put us back in chains. He's going to put us back in chains. That's what's going to happen. So now what I want to do is that I want to get into one more article in closing that I believe that's what's going to address what Trump attempted to do but failed, right? And then from there, I want to get into how maybe this time around, especially if he gets back in and attempts this one more time, which I believe that he would, because this isn't going to pass right now. Let's just be honest, that's not going to pass right now. But if he gets in office and attempts this again, right, to add that question onto the census and to put forth in motion what Chuck Edwards is trying to do, I believe it'll pass this time around. He'll be able to get it done. So let's get into that article right now and why I, feel that way, right? Let me pull this up for you. And as I'm pulling this up, there are 325 of you in the stream right now. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. So let's be fair, right? As you can see here, it says fact check. We're gonna do some fact checking. A lot of people are saying that what the Democrats voted for was for illegal immigrants to receive some sort of new representation, right? That's not true, right? There's no new representation that's illegal immigrants are going to get. What the Democrats did is they voted to make sure everything stays as is, as we've discussed so far. That's all, right? But I want to come down to what was stated here at the bottom. However, opposition to the bill does not afford undocumented migrants new rights or representation, as representation based on population size, including citizens and non-citizens, have been in place since 1790. So it's not going to be something new, as some people state. They're just maintaining things the way as it is. And what you have with Chuck Edwards is that he actually wants to remove that and go back to how the U.S. Census once was, right? Or at least bring an element of how it once was back, which was removed in 1960, which was adding the citizenship question, right? Now let's get into Trump, his administration, what he attempted to do when he tried to do this exact same thing. Donald Trump, the Donald Trump administration attempted and failed to introduce a similar citizenship question for the 2020 census. The Supreme Court ruled in 2019 that the question plan for the census was based on contrived rational blocking. Wait, what? The Supreme Court ruled in 2019 that the question plan for the census was based on contrived rationale, blocking the move in a 5-4 decision in 2019. So in short, the Supreme Court shut it down, right? But what did the Supreme Court look like in 2019? This is what the Supreme Court looked like in 2019. Here's what you have: the 5-4 decision, census, and Department of Commerce versus New York. The court sent back to a lower court a case on whether the census should contain a citizenship question, leaving in doubt whether the question would be on the 2020 census. There's the liberal bloc on my left, the conservative bloc on my right. We saw that the liberal bloc at the time in 2019 essentially shut it down with the one conservative, Mr. Roberts, who voted in favor with the liberal bloc, right? And that's how it got shut down. But the individuals representing the Supreme Court, right, that we'll say, it's not the same anymore. As we all know, Ginsburg, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, right? Ginsburg, right? She passed away. She's no longer with us. And she was replaced by Donald Trump with Barrett, the woman that you see right here. So now the conservative bloc far outnumbers the liberal bloc 6-3. 6-3. And because it outnumbers it 6-3, in a situation where this is brought up to the Supreme Court again, which it would be, obviously it would, because it would be challenged in that way. This time around, if the liberal bloc votes exactly the same, including Mr. Roberts from the conservative bloc, then it would be a 5-4 decision, right? Where the conservative bloc would win. And then in the 2030 census, now this would take effect, where you have to mark down whether or not you're a U.S. citizen, or if you're a non-citizen, and those who are non-citizens are not accounted for as it pertains to apportionment of Congress, which they shouldn't be. Therefore, having the apportionment of Congress now being on an equal level playing field solely based on the population count of U.S. citizens, as it should be, also given the fact that only U.S. citizens are allowed to vote in federal elections as it pertains to the president, the U.S. Senate, and the House of Representatives. So why would you be counting illegal immigrants anyway? That doesn't make any logical sense. It doesn't make any logical sense, right? So we'll see what happens moving forward. We'll see what happens with the election, whether or not Trump wins or whether or not Biden works his 2020 magic, where you go to bed seeing one guy is winning, and then when you wake up, the other guy wins by a landslide. We'll see. We'll see. Things should be interesting. But with all that being said, that does it for today's stream. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. I want to thank you all who contributed to today's stream. I appreciate you all. Who am I missing? Saul, I appreciate you, bro, for coming through as you always do. Thank you, bro. Saul says, just here to support. I appreciate your support, and everyone who supports me on this channel. Thank you very much. It's deeply appreciated. Once again, with all that being said, that does it for today's show. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram, right? Saul's super chat is kind of blocking it right there. TD Media Group. The link to the Telegram is in the description box below. It's pinned in the live chat currently, and it will be pinned in the comment section at the end of this stream. So thank you all for your time. Have a great weekend. Peace.